Alrighty, guys, made it back. Just a second here. Trying to get the old eyeballs focused in here. There we go. Had to send out a couple of different messages here real quick. Good evening, Squirrel, or good afternoon, I should say, since it's not super late. But anyhow, all right. So this one's actually been on order for probably about 5 months, 4 or 5 months. Ever since I had talked about the cases. The only thing of it is it was actually going to be a different format at that time. However, once we actually showed some of these cases online and everything, he went ahead and changed his order up just a slight variation. So I kind of wanted to go ahead and show you this. This is one of the purposes for the larger boxes that I've actually had made. So this is just one of the applications. But more and more, I have noticed that people have been asking for, and it's something that I've been doing a lot of here the last few years. We've got a friend of mine over in Cincinnati, Mr. Clean. He actually has one that's on the same similar platform, and the fact that it is a dual supply. So you've got two separate supplies that are within the same cabinet. That are designed and set up for two different jobs based on what their needs are. So this one is no different. I've got another one that I did that was a 400 amp power supply, which went down to Texas May of last year. So again, like I said, it's been really interesting. But anyhow, the only thing bad about black is lint. But anyhow, so I'm sure you guys can hear that we've got a really nice thick extruded aluminum cabinet. The top is extruded, the bottom is extruded, the sides, the front, the back. Very, very, very well constructed cabinet. And inside this is no different. So let's see here. Actually sent a message to the owner. I know he wanted to see this one too. Hopefully he'll reply here. But anyways, as you can see, the face has not got tons and tons of stuff on it. We've got one little micro switch. Well, hello, fat cat. '73s. All right, well, fat cat. I think you'll even like this one here. Like I said, just kind of a quick one. But anyways, as you can probably guess, we've got two sets of terminals. Which I'm going to turn it on or turn it around before I actually turn it on. You guys can see what we're looking at back here as well. Then we're going to get into the inside of it. So on the back of it, we've got, our large set of terminals for the high amperage, a smaller set for the low amperage that we've got in here. And I've actually got this little setup right here. Now, this little setup is kind of like the knob on the front. The reason why I use this one, though, is I can actually put a little lock on it so that it can't move as far as once he gets the voltage set. He did not want a voltmeter, which I really didn't want to put another hole in the face of it. Which this one, once he locks it to wherever, he just wants the availability to be able to go ahead and kind of change and reference reference anything here based on what his needs are later in, later down the road. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We do have a circuit breaker here in the back, and normally I like to use the circuit breakers on the front panel, but that's not quite how I designed this cabinet. So we've already got your little logo here and a little logo there. I may put one more back here someplace just for the kicks and grins of it. But the face is laser etched. So we've got stainless steel 5/16 feed throughs here. These are actually brass terminals. So both of them are very high end and able to handle quite a bit of current for their sizes. Alrighty. So let's take a sneak peek, because I'm sure that's what you guys are wanting to know. Get this camera here. I'll actually put that piece of felt in there so that I can actually remove the top easier, because this actually has a locking mechanism on the face. The way they've got it cut, there's actually a CNC groove here where it actually slides right into the physical face. All right, so, and this has been done for a few days. I have had an incredibly busy week. I'll get into more detail about that as far as here in the next week or two. But anyhow, let's pull it up here a little closer. So you're going to see three different supplies that are actually located in this. The first one, which is going to run our primary back here. So we got a true 100 amp supply that's going to feed this section of it here. We've got two 25 amp modules, so it's going to give us a total of 50 amps as far as back here. He only needed about 35, but one module really wasn't enough. Two is overkill, so we always do overkill. I went ahead and did go ahead and put a small capacitor in line with this, because I know this section here is actually going to be used for just the radios. All three of these are Mean Well supplies. The large one is the RSP 1515. So, it's a nice beefy supply. We've got silicon wires that we used as far as to go ahead and do all of our main feeding. And let's see if we can get this turned around just a little bit, because this thing is heavy. All right, so we've got that. We've got 12 gauge wires going to each one of these modules here. Again, for 25 amps each, well overkill. But one of the other neat things that's in this, get it into the camera. All right, so right here, we're actually using a contact to go ahead and fire all three main pieces as far as on the subsidies on this. We've got our circuit breaker that's in the back that's going to go ahead and run into our contactor, and this is in there for a couple different reasons. The primary reason is for safety. The secondary reason is so that we can go ahead and run a small little toggle switch in order to go ahead and engage and disengage the whole supply. So like I said, really neat little setup as far as that goes. We've got a 12 gauge AC power cord that's coming in to feed everything. Again, it's actually overkill since we're only running one 100 amp module and then these two smaller ones. So we're only looking at about typically an average of about 12 amps under duress is usually what you're going to see out of something like this. So again, the power cord's even overkill for this setup. We've got our main bonding ground already taken care of. All right, so, and then we've got a nice quiet fan. Hello, squirrel. See, popcorn's back. Yeah. So now the fan is actually ran off of the small supply. So I've already got a little jumper made up here, because whenever I'm done here with this one, we're going to put the screws in the cabinet and call it a day. So to make my life easier, I went ahead and set that up with some disconnects on the fan. Slid it in. And once you drop this in, get it all lined up. These cabinets fit so tight, where they have these all CNC engineered. So we're only going to need 4 screws actually to hold the top of the cabinet on. All right. So let me set this kind of back here out of the way. And it's been a while since I've done one, so we are going to do a load test as well. Hello, Gary. I see you're in there, buddy. Hopefully you got an easy night tonight if you're out there working. Hopefully your boss doesn't get mad that you're watching electronic porn. But anyhow, all right. So here we go, and listen carefully. And hear that large ka-chunk, which is that contactor actually pulling itself in. So the 100 amp supply, since it's to the main portion that the gentleman wanted, he also wanted to be able to adjust the voltage. So what's really nice is the fact that they've actually got a plug. You've got to sit down and really read and double check. But we've got a nice linear movement, so we can go all the way down to about 12.1. All the way up to 15.1. So and it's going to be very, very easy to get your adjustment exactly where you want it as far as for purposes intended. This came in a bit more pricey than what I had intended, because I hadn't really planned on using the contactors originally. But again, like I said, I wanted the nice ultra clean look on the face. So, and what's nice is, this is the same switch that we use in our mobile application as well as for here. Okay, so now if you wind up with this here, it's because of the fact that it didn't drain down far enough. Or this electronic meter, it's got some pretty sophisticated equipment that actually goes into the device of this. So there we go. So got that. Let me pull down a small voltmeter because I don't think we're going to be able to get everything into the shot any other way. Turn the AC back on too. It's getting a little warm in here. So overall, nice and quiet. And that's with all the fans running that's inside the cabinet, including the 12-inch, or excuse me, 12-inch, the 4-inch. All right, let's just turn on our little unity voltmeter here. Around here, I want to start on the back. On the front, since we've got a meter, you can kind of already see as far as what we've got going on there. On the back portion of it, Camera back here far enough. Okay, I think everybody can see that good. So let's open these up just a little bit. I'll show you where I've got it set up for a moment. If it'll let me catch that or not. Oh. All right. All right, so right now we're at 1396. Go ahead and that is the lock. Okay. But he wanted to be able to adjust as far as whatever his voltage was on his radios. He wanted to be able to adjust that up and down as well, separate. Should be just about maxed out. 15.8. So this goes up a little bit higher. Of course, it has to do with the modifications that have already been done. And where I used a 10-term potentiometer, it actually lets me adjust it way down. I shouldn't, excuse me, not way down, but it allows you to really dial it in as far as an exact amount. So 12.67. So let's turn this back up. So you can, so really dial this one in. I'm not sure what all kinds of equipment that he's got that he's going to be wanting this kind of a movement on. He didn't even ask for the 10 turn. The only reason why I chose that myself was just for the fact that it had lock on it. That way, if he's cleaning or anything else, he doesn't have to worry about a sudden change. And that's also the other reason why, as far as the 10 turn was used. So even if it was to get bumped, it's not going to be an extraordinary large difference as far as that goes, since he really doesn't have a good way to monitor this, at least from what I know. I know some people will put an external voltmeter as far as on the power supplies, because they'll oftentimes hold those or put those out of the direction or out of the way, and then put a small little voltmeter someplace up so that they can actually monitor what the DC voltage is. So we're just going to set this one at 14 volts. Duty calls. All right, Gary, we'll catch you after a while, buddy. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm actually going to take these off. We're going to do a small load test on this one. And then the other one, I'll have to look and see what we've got our voltage set at. And we'll do a load test on the back end of this as well. We're going to do this one facing this direction, because all of our adjustments and everything are right there. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. Looks like we can see everything good there. All right, so this is on the 50 amp side. So a little line right there is where it's going to essentially max out at once we start putting it a little bit under a load. Okay, well, it shuts off at so we can bring it up a little slower here. It's 50, 60. So when it's about 75. I know at that point it's going to start kicking it out, but that's part of the safety that's in intermixed with the Mean Well power supplies that we've got hooked up to it. So definitely a rocking little setup as far as that goes. I know he's going to be able to hold anything that he's going to need on that with no problem. Okay. Put these back on, and that was at 14 volts. I know a lot of guys run their stuff between 14 to 14.5 as far as the radios. So 14 was close enough. That's what it's going to ship at anyways. So out of the way for the moment. Turn this Goliath around. Head to the inside. It's all hooked up, and I'll move the camera where you guys can see it a little bit better. It's 14.5. All right. So let's start putting a little load on this one. It's 100. 125. It drops down to 13 volts. Back up here to 100. 14.4. Okay. So for intermittently, we can run 125 amps off of it, no problem. And it will sustain a short-term load of about 150. And granted, you got to remember that's off of the one supply. So other than that, I think it's going to work out pretty good. The meter's reading correctly. Beautiful, beautiful. Alrighty, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, this wasn't actually going to wind up in this cabinet originally, and he asked about changing his order just a little bit, so we went ahead and made a few different modifications, and like I said, went another direction. Part of the other reason why I chose to go ahead and use the contactor, I was talking about safety, and it does have the circuit breaker in the back, but just in case that there is some form of an electrical surge that may happen or what have you, um, essentially it's the same as unplugging it from the wall to a certain degree. Granted, it has increased the space as far as on the contactors, so that there's less likely that there's an arc or anything like that for any kind of power surge that may come in. So essentially, you've got two forms of protection. You've got your circuit breaker that's in the back, and you've got your contactor that actually goes ahead and disconnects the entire source from all the different supplies. And since all the supplies are also bolted directly to a ground, you've got your secondary source of grounding that goes to everything as well for safety as well. But big guy, hopefully you enjoy your new power supply. Like I said, I've had definitely a fun time building it. I was actually going to try to do this as far as on a live build. Unfortunately, I've done this one throughout my long week. So it took me a little longer to actually get to this one and get it all completed for you. But other than that, like I said, you've got just about the best of the best as far as everything to go with on this. Best part about it, there's no current. It's really on that switch, so you've got just that nice big chunk, and that comes your voltage. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. How's it going? Let's see. How's it going? Power supply looks good. Well, thank you, Tom. Yep. Like I said, this is this is about the fourth or fifth one that I've done as far as with two different supplies, and it's for the people that are looking to do multiple different things with it, but they, a lot of guys, they want to have a power supply that's dedicated specifically to their radios. And I'm actually no different. My setup here is the same way. I actually have multiple different power supplies, for load sharing essentially, and so that I know that whenever I'm testing something, that I'm actually getting a more accurate reading, based off of it. So that's part of the other reason. But this has become very popular here lately as far as for me to do in the last few years, just because of the fact that it's all encased into one unit, and you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to worry about a whole lot. You've just got one supply that feeds everything, even though it's two completely separate units. But all right, guys, I'm going to try to find a box for this one and get this all set up. My meter's beeping at me, telling me to shut off. But anyhow, like I said, I'll try to find a box, get this boxed up as soon as I put the screws in the top, and I will probably be back because I've got one or two more that's actually finished. I want to try to get a video out for them as well. So, guys, I appreciate it. We'll catch you here in a little bit. Well, thank you, Charles. I'm glad you like that. Like I said, I know the owner will definitely love the power supply. Hopefully, you got in there soon enough that you were able to, kind of peek on the inside and see what it looks like. But yep, I know this is going to go to a very good home. All right, guys. Catch you after bed.